Hello there! Have you already mastered parts 1 through 3? If not, it's best to review those lectures first. You can find the links below. If you're ready, you may continue with this session, where we will cover the preparation of the statement of cost of goods sold using our ledgers and considering our trial balances. Let's get started. To begin, select or filter cash to retrieve the ledger balance. After filtering the journal, it turns into the ledger. We can see total debits amounting to 47,200 pesos and total credits of 28,615 pesos, resulting in a balance of 18,585 pesos, which will be carried forward to the trial balance. The trial balance is a summary of all the ledgers we have created. Here is the cash ledger balance of 18,585 pesos as shown in the trial balance. Do the same for accounts receivable and each of the other account titles until the trial balance is complete. Once the trial balance is complete, we can identify the key balances needed to complete our statement of cost of goods sold. Observe the beginning and ending balances of raw materials, work in process, and finished goods. Here are the ending balances for month 1, which serve as the beginning balances for month 2. Since we are preparing for month 2, these figures represent our beginning balances. What will our ending balances be for month 2? These are the ending balances for month 2. We will begin transferring the beginning balances to the statement of cost of goods sold. Raw materials beginning 1,000 pesos. Work in process beginning 4,000. Finished goods 6,000 pesos. Now it's time to forward the ending balances to the statement of cost of goods sold. Raw materials ending 2,000 pesos. Work in process ending 3,000 pesos. Finished goods ending 4,000 pesos. After forwarding the beginning and ending balances of all inventories, we will proceed to the remaining items, starting with the net cost of purchases. But where can we find this amount? It can be found in the raw materials ledger. The remaining items must pertain only to the current period, which in our case is month 2. We need to filter the date as shown. If there are many purchases, we can filter by remarks. When there are purchase returns, discounts, and allowances, the filtered total must be deducted from purchases, while the total transportation in, should be added to the net purchases. Net cost of purchases 8,000 pesos. Next, we need to determine the amount of indirect materials used for the current month only. What did you observe? Where can we find this amount? You got it right. You can find it in the factory overhead control ledger. Additionally, you can find it in the available subsidiary ledger for indirect materials if one exists. You may filter the remarks when necessary, especially if there are multiple transactions for indirect materials. Indirect materials used 500 pesos. Finally, we will continue with the breakdown of the amounts charged to work in process during month 2 for direct materials, direct labor, and factory overhead applied. I want to emphasize that this refers specifically to the amounts charged during that month. Once again, we can find all those items by checking our work in process ledger. We need to verify if we are in the current month, which is month 2. Yes, we are in the right period. The total manufacturing costs amount to 8,000 pesos, composed of 6,500 pesos for direct materials, 1,000 pesos for direct labor, and 500 pesos for factory overhead applied. We may also filter the remarks when there are multiple transactions for any of the components to determine the total for each component. Now that we have filled in substantially all the necessary data, we can compute the cost of goods sold, normal. Raw materials, beginning plus net costs of purchases equals total goods available for use. So 1,000 pesos plus 8,000 pesos equals 9,000 pesos. Total goods available for use minus raw materials ending equals raw materials used. Therefore, 9,000 pesos minus 2,000 pesos equals 7,000 pesos. Direct materials used plus direct labor plus factory overhead applied equals total manufacturing costs. Thus, 6,500 pesos plus 1,000 pesos plus 500 pesos equals 8,000 pesos. Total manufacturing costs plus work in process beginning equals total goods put into process. That is 8,000 pesos plus 4,000 pesos equals 12,000 pesos. Total goods put into process minus work in process ending equals total goods manufactured. Thus, 12,000 pesos minus 3,000 pesos equals 9,000 pesos. Total goods manufactured plus finished goods beginning equals total goods available for sale. Accordingly, 9,000 pesos plus 6,000 pesos equals 15,000 pesos. Total goods available for sale minus finished goods ending equals cost of goods sold, normal. Hence, 15,000 pesos minus 4,000 pesos equals 11,000 pesos. Total goods available for sale minus finished goods ending equals cost of goods sold normal. Hence, 15,000 pesos minus 4,000 pesos equals 11,000 pesos. Finally, the last item we need to examine is under-applied/over-applied factory overhead. How are we going to compute this? We need to obtain the ledger balances for both factory overhead control and factory overhead applied. Factory overhead control reflects the actual amount incurred, while factory overhead applied is an estimate. When actual costs exceed the estimate, it indicates that the costs allocated to cost of goods sold normal are insufficient, and we need to add under-applied overhead. In this case, we have 500 pesos for factory overhead applied, and we have a total of 2,200 pesos for factory overhead control. A total debit amount of 2,200 pesos for factory overhead control minus a total credit amount of 500 pesos for factory overhead applied gives us a debit balance of 1,700 pesos. If there is a debit balance, it is considered under-applied. Since cost of goods sold has a normal debit balance, under-application will be added. In other words, the overhead costs initially allocated are insufficient. Remember, we only need the amounts for the current month, which is month 2. For our final computation, cost of goods sold normal plus under-applied FOH equals cost of goods sold actual. Therefore, 11,000 pesos plus 1,700 pesos equals 12,700 pesos. That's all. We've completed the pro forma journal entries, including the trial balance and statement of cost of goods sold for a manufacturing business. I hope this has helped you gain a better understanding of these entries. If you need to replay any part, don't hesitate. You can watch it as many times as needed until you feel confident. For even better results, grab a pen and paper to try executing the transactions independently or follow along with this video. I hope you found this material helpful. Have a great day.